But I have a phrase and I call it possibility thinking. Hi there, Richard again. I had a conversation earlier, and the topic of that really came into it was maybe there are opportunities right now that we could be ready to take advantage of. In fact, actually, I recorded the podcast on the very same subject released on the day I recorded this video, so it depends when you see this video. But essentially, there's two types of people. There's obviously more, but there's two types of people fundamentally. If I use the phrase "stay in your lane" on the one hand to describe one type of person, and then if I use the phrase "go big or go home" in the other category, if you like, of classification of person, you can probably start to imagine just some of the extremes that those two phrases can paint. So the stay in your lane type of person is usually risk averse. They usually prefer to stay with what they know, get familiar with that, and perfect that particular model and repeat and repeat and repeat. In other words, go deep into one specific area over time. And there's a few characteristics that tend to go with that. As I mentioned, they tend to be risk averse. They they tend to want to focus on one specific direction. There's also potential downsides to that as well, because what if the thing, whatever it is, the lane that you're in, comes to a dead end, so to speak, and the opportunity, the strategy, the business plan that you're following is no more. So that's one of the downsides. So there's pluses and minuses with everything, of course. And then if you contrast that with the go big or go home type of camp, it already conjures up, perhaps some fear in some people. But the go big or go home is if you've got very big goals and or a very short time scale, then going big actually might be the answer for you. Now, the obvious potential downside of that is it could also be more risky. Because going big, perhaps bigger than you're used to, perhaps taking on something different, something new, getting outside of your comfort zone will bring risk by, just as a matter of course. However, you could go big, you could win big as well. So we're talking about right now. So for example, I was offered a couple of opportunities recently. And I think, based on the latest RICS valuation, equated to something like a 25% discount from that valuation. So good value. Now, I'm probably expecting a correction, softening, whatever you want to call it, in terms of prices. So maybe 10%. Who knows? I don't know for sure, but maybe 10%, maybe 15%. I don't know. So even at 25%, it's decent value, probably in line with over and above rather what my expectations are. But here's the thing: I was offered 3 projects, and they're all between £3 and £4 million each, which is bigger than I've tended to do. And initially, I started to think, I don't know if I can do that. And of course, there was this sort of glass ceiling, artificial ceiling on my own capability that started to creep in. But I have a phrase and I call it possibility thinking. And then I started to ask myself, well, what if, or how, or who if I could do those kind of projects, whether it's one or indeed all 3. And then I started to think of ideas. Started to think, well, people I could connect with, how I could de-risk it for myself, how I could potentially raise funds for those sorts of opportunities to go big if I wanted to. And so, but then there's the other side of me which says, well, stay in your lane. What do you know? Stick to what you know and rinse and repeat, and it's all, fine and dandy in the end. So we were having this conversation, and it was clear that the people I was talking to were perhaps more in the stay in your lane type of camp. And that's absolutely fine, by the way, because the point I'm really making here is that it has to be right for you. Whatever choice you make, whatever strategic direction you take, whatever goals that you have need to be right for you, need to fit your own circumstances. And that's really the point. So there's no right or wrong answer, whether you stay in your lane rather, or you go big and go home. The most important thing is to know what's right for you, but also to understand that there's always pluses and minuses, there's always advantages and disadvantages, no matter what route you take. So hopefully that's been of use to you, and just pop in the comments box. Are you a stay in the lane type of person, or perhaps you're a go big or go home type of person? Or make your own metaphor up and drop it in there as well. That'd be fine. Thanks for watching.